Do not be too hasty. Focus your mind and body, friend.
Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher, and welcome to the most unique healer in the game. We're going to be talking about the Mistweaver Monk today. It's my favorite. You can tell I'm a huge Monk fan by now, and the Mistweaver is no exception. We're going to be looking at a healer that takes the idea of healing and really twists it up and changes it into something so unique and interesting. So I hope you'll come along for the ride, because we've got a lot of little synergies to explain with this one. So let us get into the Mistweaver Monk, shall we? Alright, so the Mistweaver Monk and healers in general have been a really interesting journey to take while doing the guides, because I think most people would like a very set-in-stone picture of how to play the character. In fact, if you've played WoW for a long time, it's generally been the case of this is the best talent setup for this, and this is the best talent setup for that. And there are a lot of people who still think like that, although for me, and for many others, that picture has changed, and that landscape has changed quite dramatically, particularly when you take into account how varied the game is now, with things like Mythic Plus and the different affixes and how they affect what you want to do. So my aim in this guide, as always, is to show you the potential roads you could walk down, and then it's the job of others to say why that's wrong and you should do blah 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 blah. But all I'm going to do is say, look, here's some general builds you might want to go with, but this is how you decide what's going to be best for your Mistweaver in that scenario. Okay, so the Mistweaver has, and you can probably tell by now if you watched any of the other Monk guides, the most unique array of heals in the game. And that makes it very appealing to me as a player. I love the fact that the heals aren't just a heal over time. So if we look at something like a Holy Priest, they have Renew, it heals over time. They have Flash Heal, AoE heal, you know, just like the very basic fundamental types of heals. There's nothing wrong with that, but the Mistweaver does things in a very different way. So let's talk about some things that people don't even seem to know about who've played Mistweavers for a while, and I find it kind of strange. But you guys will be fully aware of it after this. Let's talk about how this thing works. Okay, so let's look at our teachings of the monastery. I almost said mastery then, and that would have been the first thing. So Tiger Palm causes your next blackout kick to strike an additional time, right? And it stacks up to 3 times. That means if you do like Tiger Palm, Tiger Palm, Tiger Palm, what'll end up happening is you build it up here. You can see this, I have 3 stacks now teaching in the monastery, and when I blackout kick, it fires all 3. Did you see that? That's going to be very important later. Blackout Kick also has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Rising Sun Kick. Wah! So what's going on here? Well, obviously, the Mistweaver has this melee aspect to it. It's the only healer that does, in fact. Well, that's not true. Ret does as well. But the idea of... not Ret. Holy Paladin. The idea here is that traditionally, when the Mistweaver joined the game, is it had the ability, in fact, it had a whole stance, it came with stances, where you could switch over to a melee healing style. And people loved that. They called it fist weaving. It was a very important style of play, and some people really adored the fact that they had this melee healer, where traditionally healers that did have some DPS, which were your druids and your priests, they had some sort of ranged aspect to it. Those guys who wanted a melee experience while healing, the Monk was the solution for them, and that now does fall into the Mistweaver and the Holy Paladin. Now then, that's kind of gone away. People found it very ineffective and on occasion, and although people loved it, Blizzard couldn't really balance it correctly. So what they've decided to go with every healer is you have the option to DPS, usually to regain some mana. So they give the option to go in and do some damage, contribute in some way, and that's how they do it with the Mistweavers. They give you access to Rising Sun Kick, some of the Windwalker abilities, Blackout Kick, and of course Tiger Palm. So the first thing you notice is there's some passive work going on there, which is going to tie into some talents later on. Not only that, we get Soothing Mist, okay? So, Effuse, we should explain our spells here. We have a number of spells to use. We have Effuse, which is kind of the boring go-to heal. It doesn't do a great deal. As you can see, I have my healing bars hidden here. Don't worry, there'll be a gameplay video that accomplishes this. But for my healers, I always have the spells hidden because healers just work off cooldowns, and your mana bar is generally the deciding factor on anything else. So Effuse is your fast, efficient spell. It heals the target for 161,000, which, as you can probably imagine, in today's day and age, where even my healer has 4 million HP, not a great deal. It's not a great deal at all. However, what it does do, along with some other heals, is it triggers the Soothing Mist effect. You can see I'm actually doing it now. So Effuse, Enveloping Mist, Vivify, and Life Cocoon also trigger Soothing Mist. So after casting these spells, you continue to channel healing mists into the target, healing them for 41,000 every 0.4 seconds until you take any other action. That's right. So when you heal somebody with your healing spells, right, you can see here, I'm channeling my heal into them. I'm like constantly healing. You can see the way it's hot. You see all these 41,000 ticking over. And that is one aspect of the Mistweaver that a lot of people really like. They love this, especially in low healing environments, is that they are constantly healing without pressing. I'm not touching the keyboard. This is naturally happening. Now, you might love that, and plenty of people do. It's a subjective thing. Me, I hate this. I absolutely hate this. I find this really irritating. It used to be a kind of something you could manage back in the previous games. They've kept it in. That's something you might like. You can also run around with it if you talent into it. You can see where I can run around with this thing. So although I'm moving, I'm still healing this person. So if this was the tank, I could do that. I could do a number of spells that will also trigger this. Now, you'll also notice that when I stop doing it, that when I cast another spell, it stops happening. So this is kind of like a passive that's happening all the time. We have a Mastery. Effuse, Renewing Mist. And so many people don't know about this. It blows my mind. So your Mastery as Mistweaver is an extra heal, right? It's an extra heal. So Effuse, Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, and Vivify also cause a gust of healing mist, instantly healing the primary target for 230,000. That's right. When you cast these spells, you get an extra heal on top based on your Mastery. Just an extra free heal that comes along with it. This gust of mist. You can see it proc there, 460k. And you can see the normal heal. You can see the extra heal going on. You see, they've got the 160k and the 230k, which is exactly what our tooltip said it would do. And the more mastery you have, the larger that heal's going to be. So that is the Mastery. That's the things that we're talking about. How did he bow to me? Slash love. Slash love. Oh, I loved the wrong guy. Slash love you. I love you. So let's stop casting this because it's kind of annoying. So I mentioned a number of heals there, and again, with the Mistweaver, so unique, so interesting. Let's talk about our most important one first of all, which is going to be Renewing Mist. So what they did with the Renewing Mist is take the idea of the heal over time and then twist it up a little bit, make it a little bit different for the Mistweaver. So it's a 8-second cooldown, super cheap, 33,000 mana, costs fuck all. It surrounds the target with Healing Mist, restoring 608,000 health over 24 seconds. Now, if Renewing Mist heals a target past maximum health, that means that Renewing Mist is ticking on somebody, so somebody took some damage, you threw a Renewing Mist on them, but then that person became full health and it tried to heal them, it'll go, oh, this dude doesn't need healing anymore. I'm gonna go and find somebody else who does within 20 yards. And that's how this healing spell works. It looks around all your people in your party or local area and it says, well, the guy I'm healing right now, he doesn't need any healing anymore. But that guy over there does, so it jumps around. Right? It jumps around and it just finds people who need healing. Not only that, each time Renewing Mist heals, which is what it's desperately trying to do, it's like the smart healer. You can almost feel the thematic idea here that you are working with the winds in an almost like they're alive kind of way because they're actively seeking people out. Every time Renewing Mist does heal somebody, it has a 4% chance to increase the healing of your next Vivify by 40%. Well, what the fuck is Vivify, you're asking? Okay, so Vivify is a semi-AoE heal. All right, again, it's super cheap. 44,000 mana, not that expensive. It's a 1.2 second cast, super fast. What does it do? It causes a surge of invigorating mists around the target, healing them and their 2 nearest injured allies for 211,000. Not only that, but it works with our Mastery on the primary target, okay? So it heals 3 people. It heals 3 people every time you press it. And whoever you target with it, so if I target, let's be offended. If I target him with the Vivify, it heals him for a lot more, and you can see it pops up with the green elsewhere, and it's just looking for people to heal. See the way it got this guy and that guy? That's how Vivify works. But bear in mind with the Mastery Gust of Mist, the person you actually target with Vivify will get that extra bonus healing, when then it'll find 2 other guys and give them some heals to go along with it. Now you're probably thinking, Vivify 4%, that's not a great deal. Well, it is a good deal because 8-second cooldown on Renewing Mist and some chicanery we're going to do later means that Renewing Mist is something we just keep on cooldown. It's not something we hold back on just because people are on full health, right? You are going to get into this rhythm Every 8 seconds of renewing mist. It's one of the most important habits you have to get into as a Mistweaver is keeping that renewing mist ticking. You want a good notification. See how I have it counting down? You want a good notification in some form or another, no matter what UI you use, even the basic one, to know primarily when renewing mist is coming back off cooldown and firing that son of a bitch out. Yeah? You want to keep that bad boy going all the time. And the more renewing mist you come out, the more chance of this is the proc we're talking about with Vivify. Here it is. My Vivify will now heal for 40% increased healing, giving me all that extra bonus healing that goes along with it. Which is great, because obviously we're generally going to be doing group content if we're on a healer, and healing people for more for free is really good, especially if we can just get into the habit of pressing whatever your renewing mist key happens to be on cooldown, right? So very, very cool. Our other go-to heals then. So we have this enveloping mist. This is our big single target heal, but again, with the Mistweaver, works slightly differently, especially if you play past expansions where they kind of twisted it up again for this expansion. So what it does, it wraps them in healing mist. See the theme? It's a healing mist all the time. It heals for 1 million over 7 seconds. It's a hot. Very important. What you don't want to think of enveloping mist as is like a healing holy word, like holy word, you know, the single target miracle, I forget the word offhand, that just goes bleh, big heal, or lay on hands, or flash of light, or any sort of big single target heal. That's not what it is. It's a heal over time. So if you just fire this off and the guy is like topped off seconds later, a big amount of this thing, because it's over 7 seconds, goes to waste, right? And it's not that cheap. Now we're up to 60,000 mana to cast this thing. And it's on one person, and you can very, very quickly end up in a scenario where that guy is just not getting any of that healing, especially if you've got good spot healers, like you've got some Holy Pallies and some priests who are just going boom, 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 boom with big heals. That's not really your niche, especially if you're going to be using enveloping mists. But also notice there's a second part of this tooltip, which is what a lot of people don't notice. It increases the healing received from your other spells by 40%. Okay, so that's really good if you need to spam someone. Think about a dungeon environment, you need to top someone quickly. So we're not with other healers now, we're in M+, or we're in Heroic, or we're in a Mythic 0, whatever it is, and you need to get some big heals onto that target. You might think, oh god, I've got to spam Enveloping Mist. No. That's expensive. What you do want to do, though, is give them Enveloping Mist. That's going to give them that 1 million heal over 7 seconds, but it also buffs them with this 40% increased healing from other targets, similar to the Tuer ability of the Holy Priest, where you could get them up using your less costly spells because they're going to benefit from all that extra bonus healing that they receive. Again, twists. Every tooltip for the Mistweaver has some sort of twist to it, and understanding it, that's what's important. Our other spell is Essence Font. Now we're up to the big players, right? 80,000 mana. Son bitch expensive, right? 12-second cooldown, mother of God. Yeah, this one's a motherfucker. It unleashes a rapid swirl of healing bolts at up to 6 allies within 25 yards. Bear in mind that 25-yard range. Every 1 second for 2.4 seconds, right? So very, very quick cast, very quick cast. Each bolt heals that target for 100,000, plus an additional 41,000 over 8 seconds. So they get that and they get a hot. You can also cast it while moving, and it looks pretty funky too. Whee! You can see all these sperms just fly out to sperminate people, right? This is your kind of go-to we're in big trouble AoE heal, right? Beyond the big cooldown we have in a second. This is the one you want to go to, but it's a some bitch expensive. So if you're going to fire off some Essence Fonts, which in high-end raiding where people are very rarely at full health for too long, this is what you're going to be going to as you get higher and higher into more difficult content. You're going to be seeing many more Essence Fonts, and we'll be designing our character around that should you be in that scenario. So let's talk about some other things that come as base before we get into the talents then. Life Cocoon is our sort of big single target cooldown. I want to say tank cooldown, but not necessarily always, of course. You can use it at your discretion. So it's pretty cheap, 26,000 mana. 3-minute cooldown comes with this thing. It encases the target in a cocoon of chi energy for 12 seconds. That's a really long time. And I can tell you as somebody who has tanked for the majority of World of Warcraft, I fucking love me some Life Cocoon, baby. It absorbs 2 million damage, not a great deal. But it increases all healing over time received by 50%. Yeah, you get some big love out of this thing. Oh, baby. And it looks awesome as well. There's no tank. I can tell you when I see this big green fucking testicle arrive around me when I'm tanking, I'm like, yeah, baby. That's the shit right there. That's the shit right there, because it is very, very cool. Wonderful little ability to be picking up there. What else do we have? We have our big AoE heal. Now, Revival gets a lot of stick and a lot of love, depending on the scenario. It's 50,000 mana, so it's cheaper than an Essence font, yeah? 2.3 minute cooldown. As you can see, you can reduce that with your stats. Now, it heals all the party and raid members within 40 yards for 500,000. And it clears them of all harmful magical poison and disease effects. I cannot tell you, and people in the comments will back me the fuck up on this one, how many people do not know that Revival also dispels. Because there have been some fights where you do not want to dispel people, or you need to plan your dispels critically, and some arsehole monk presses Revival because he thinks, oh, loads of people need healing here, I'm gonna press it, and has wiped the raid. Oh, sweet God, if I could count the amount of times I've seen that happen. And they're like, I didn't know it did that. I thought it was just a mega heal over everyone. Yeah, it's the most derpy style of raid cooldown for a healer, just flat healing. Sometimes that dispel is value, though. Sometimes that dispel is absolutely value, and some healers do use it just for its dispel effects in certain scenarios. So you could think about maybe Eye of Ashara, second boss. Whole group gets Static Nova because they're terrible, so they took a shit ton of damage. They're all stunned, which is dispellable. Boom, Revival not only heals them, but also dispels all those stuns on everybody in the party. Really good usage there, right? Got some good value out of that. So bear in mind what it does in the scenarios you use it in, and then you're going to be good times. Okay, so we also get Spinning Crane Kick. Whee! Spinning Crane Kick, kind of it's 11,000 mana, pretty cheap. Spin while kicking in the air, dealing 240,000 damage and to enemies nearby. Whee! Our AoE damage, isn't that amazing? What I do want to talk about, though, more important than anything here, is this little beauty right here, Thunder Focus Tea. 30-second cooldown. Good usage of Thunder Focus Tea is going to separate the men from the boys. Okay, so this 30-second cooldown, what does it do? It changes how your heals work even further. This is why I love the Mistweaver. There is a lot of thought that goes into it. It's not just, well, we kind of just spam Prayer of Healing or whatever and just try and throw down this, or, you know, the kind of things that you get from a more basic healer, which is very appealing because, unfortunately, the Mistweavers have seen a lesser and lesser representation, mostly due down to the fact that they are so niche that the traditional healers tend to be able to snipe them and beat them off with a stick in a lot of scenarios. I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm not saying that. I love this thing, and they're still very representative in Mythic, but they have been the ones that have been left behind more and more. In my opinion, this again is more of a debate. It's because their heals work in such unique ways that the more traditional healers are able to just outdo them in their own individual niches. But anyway, getting on with this. So you receive a jolt of energy empowering your next spell casts. Alright, so you get this buff where you can change how your spells work. So Effuse, which you might remember is our quick basic heal, that's going to do 200% more healing. Okay. Enveloping Mist is instant cast, so that's our kind of big single target heal over time that also gives that 40% buff. Okay. Essence Font channels 100% faster. Well, now we're talking, because if we were in super burst scenarios, we're all running around, maybe think about something like Fallen Avatar, Unbound Chaos, yeah? Whole raids running around, the healers are running around, you're moving from your Unbound Chaos is that you can fire off a super fast Essence Font. That's pretty good, man. You're going to get some good healing out. Renewing Mist does not trigger its cooldown. So now we're aware that having more Renewing Mist out actually means we get more chances to proc our Vivify's 40% increased healing. Now we're getting to some good magic. Yeah, you can see I'm casting these Renewing Mists. Now it's on cooldown, although I actually have 3 ticking on. There's the Vivify proc that we're getting from there. Now we're starting to make some goddamn sense. Also, Vivify has no mana cost. Yeah, so what we could do is if we need some cheap things, we're struggling for mana, all these choices. Now, I want to point out here while I was looking down some of these, there's a time and a place for all of these things. Yeah, sometimes you've got nothing that you really need to do in the scenario you're doing. So maybe getting that fuse out is going to be okay for you in that scenario. What I don't want you to do is go away and say, I always use it on this. That's the only thing I'm trying to say is I always use it on this. There's different scenarios for each time. Essence Fonts channeling 100% faster, really good in some scenarios. Most of the time you're going to use it on Renewing Mist, particularly in raids, right? Vivify not costing mana. That could be crucial at certain points in the fight, as could being able to emergency heal someone with an enveloping mist being instant casts, right? That could be really important. So if we want to heal somebody and our enveloping mist takes too long, this guy's going to die. What I could do is Thunder Focus to it, and then I could just fucking put that buff on. There you can go. I can see it, and I can like spam this guy as fast as possible with whatever heals I should have available. So good use of Thunder Focus T is what's going to separate the men from the boys. Not being so locked into it is what I would advise all of you to do. Despite the fact that in most scenarios you are going to use it in one particular way, don't think that's the only way you can use it, is the message I'm trying to put out to you. So some other things we should be aware of is our artifact ability, which is, of course, Shylan's Gift. So what is Shylan's Gift? Well, as you can probably notice when you play your Mistweaver is, if I can get combat here, thank you, is you can see I'm tracking something here. This is Shylan's Gifts, and what it's doing is looking around. Now, you see this here? Ooh, what is this? Yes. All around this area are little pools. You can see them. You see the little green glowy mists here? When I'm casting healing spells, I'm going to be creating these little pools, right? These little mist pools. Now, our artifact ability uses all those clouds of mist. It's called Shylan's Gift, and heals the target for 120,000 per cloud absorbed. It's a mega heal. Yes, it is. If I cast it on me, it's going to use all 12. Oof, I don't even know what it hit me for. Did it show me? Ooh. 1.4 million. Yeah, 1.4 million heal I got from that. Not only that, with the recent change to artifacts, we also got this. The Whispers of Xiaohao. Consuming the Mists of Shylan, which we just did, causes each active mist to additionally heal a nearby target of 120,000. This was a wonderful addition to the game, because previously you just had this single target mega heal, right? Which is great. In a lot of scenarios, that's fantastic. But now what you could do is a bit more AoE burst, because these mists, as you've probably noticed, appear all over the place. Look at them. There's one here, there's one here. They're pouring like a circle around you, but you're going to be moving around a lot in a lot of scenarios. And these mists are everywhere, which means consuming them actually does a nice chunky AoE heal to the people that are around it. This also means that Mistweavers need to be very aware of their position. Very, very aware. And we're going to find out about more than that in the talent section. So that's all good stuff you need to know about. Let's talk about stats for a minute then. Haste gives us more things like more ticks of spells and all that kind of stuff, right? So haste increases how we do those kind of abilities. So haste, you might think, is going to be really, really great. Well, in a dungeon, sure, right? We're the only person there. We need to take care of things quickly and efficiently. Haste is more beneficial to us there. But what about when we start bringing in other healers? At that point, our haste is less important. And in fact, we might want to look towards critical strike ring there. Increase the effectiveness of our heals, right? We want more critical strike chance in our heals. That's what I'm trying to point out is our abilities a little bit swap around. They swap around quite effectively. Now, because we have such unique styles of healing, what you'll find is in some scenarios, like, let's say dungeons and stuff where you're the only healer, mastery becomes better for you. So you might want to go like haste mastery in that point, because I need to be quick and I need to be effective because of that extra mastery heal. In a raid scenario though, maybe I don't need to do that because that's not my job, right? And mastery can fall way down to the bottom. I've seen a couple of spreadsheets that point to raids having mastery as their worst possible stat. What they want there is crit and versatility. Just want this constant churning out of healing. And haste comes way at the bottom. That means you have to pick and choose your stats based on the content you want to do. Just be aware of what they do. Do you need more gusts? Are you going to be spamming these abilities where you're going to get far more benefit out of Gusts of Mist? Do you need to be faster with your heals? Or do you want them to be more effective with like crit and versatility? That's what it all comes down to, is what are you going to be doing? And also bear in mind, if you're doing things like M+, how does that change? Are you going to be doing a lot of single target heals? Are you going to be healing the group more? What is going to be more beneficial to you in these different scenarios? And you can pick and choose your stats that way. Once again, another spec of the monk that isn't super tied to its statistics. It depends on the content you're going to be doing. I know a lot of people don't like me saying that, but that's the truth of it. alter your characters. In fact, most people, the higher up in the game you go, I could point out to a couple of healers in my guild who have like 8 different sets of gear depending on the affixes they're dealing with when they're doing Mythic Plus, because it's not set in stone in Legion, and it never will be, as far as I can tell. Let's talk about talents then. So, Chi Burst is really cool. It hurls a torrent of Chi energy up to 40 yards forward, dealing 361,000 nature damage to all enemies, and 240,000 healing to the monk and all allies in its path. However, that does have a diminishing return on the amount of people you heal, right? The other thing about Chi Burst is you have to physically aim it, right? You can't target somebody and Chi Burst them. Like, I can't aim this way and Chi Burst that, and cast Chi Burst, it'll go over there. No, you have to physically aim this thing. Really good. Once again, pointing out how positioning with your Mistweaver is of crucial importance. Real crucial importance. Now, in raids where people tend to be grouped up and whatnot, Chi Burst is definitely going to be your go-to heal. It's super cheap. In fact, it's free, and does a tremendous amount of burst healing should you time it right. 30-second cooldown, very cool. I just want to show you this. So if I target this training dummy, but I'm aiming this way and I try and Chi Burst, my Chi Burst goes that way, it does not go towards that target, right? You've got to physically be pointing at your target in order to get the best out of it. A good advice, though, I did read this, actually, is that because it does have diminishing returns, it can reset. So if there's a group of players here and a group of players over here, where, like, so we could, like, can we mark this guy? Yeah, we can. So if there's a group of players at Diamond and a group of players at Circle, for example, right? This is just a rough example. And I Chi Burst through these. This might not be the right distance, I'm just giving you an idea of what happened, is it'll do the most healing here, and then that diminishing return will reset before it hits other players. So what it'll actually do is heal these a lot, and then heal them a lot, right? And you get more benefit out of it. So try and aim it into 2 groups of players is all I'm trying to say, just for a little extra cheeky love. Zen Pulse, though. Trigger a Zen Pulse around an ally, deals 200,000 damage to all enemies within 8 yards of the target, and the ally is healed. Great for dungeons. You're not going to get big packs of people in dungeons because there's only 5 people in there. Fucking science, right? So you swap over to Zen Pulse there. Chi Wave, generally quite useless. 15-second cooldown. You'll be doing other things. Bounces 7 times. There's all this nonsense. In terms of general efficiency, Zen Pulse, really good for dungeons where your damage is more important on packs. You know, you're going to have AoE packs going on all the time. Healing those guys for that amount. Chi Burst better for raids where people are all clumped and spread out. Or all clumped up in various groups. I love 30, pick whatever the hell you want. I've recommended Tiger's Lust in every monk guide. Why? It's just so good. You already have Celerity and Chi Torpedo. Chi Torpedo used to be just the fabulous. I actually miss Chi Torpedo as being the go-to. You can still use it if you want to. It's not going to make a massive difference. It's not like you suddenly got everybody's going to die because you took Chi Torpedo, as some people would lead you to believe. But Tiger's Lust is something you can cast on other people and also dispels roots and snares and speeds them up. So if you know somebody's got some debuff that's going to kill the fucking raid, and they've like, I didn't notice. Then suddenly they start fucking, RP walking away with it because they're fucking super awesome. Is you can just click them and say, no, go faster, please. You're driving me mad. Because generally you have great movement anyway as a Mistweaver, so you don't really need it yourself in a lot of scenarios. So you can use it on other people. It's also a 30-second cooldown. So if you get this, I just suggest practicing with it and just getting used to using it on people. Use it on the tanks in dungeons just to speed them up to the next pack. Things like that. Get used to pressing the keybind. All right, level 45. Great choices here again. Depends on the scenario. Right tool for the right job is how healers work in World of Warcraft. This is how you have to know what your talents do in order to pick the right one. So increases enveloping mist duration. So you remember enveloping mist? That's our like single target hot. Yeah. By duration by 1 second, it's healing bonus by 10%. So that's the important part. We talked about that healing bonus earlier on. Now you're buffing that by 10%. And you can also channel Soothing Mist while moving. So if you're doing a lot of very one-person healing, to the point where you could just heal them with Enveloping Mist, and they're going to get 50% extra healing from your Soothing Mist, right? You're going to get some good use out of that, right? That's going to be more beneficial. However, what if you're doing a lot of like AoE healing? Well, Enveloping Mist reduces the mana cost of your next Vivify by 20%, and Vivify reduces the mana cost of your next Enveloping Mist by 20%. So there's obviously a lot. This is like a swap type talent, but what it does do is allow you to fuck up was the best way I saw this written, right? I mean, I spoke to 4 Mistweavers, I read multiple guides, I played it myself. Life Cycles just comes in handy all the time when you're like, things are going wrong, you're not sure what's happening. Life Cycles is just great for that because you're going to be using a multitude of spells to cover mistakes, people fucking up. Mythic Plus, I take this in Mythic Plus, although most people go, no, you take Spirit of the Crane. Well, I prefer Life Cycles when I'm pugging with my group, I might take Spirit of the Crane. So what's that? Teachings of the Monastery causes each additional blackout kick to restore 0.65% mana. What did we talk about earlier on? Teachings of the Monastery, where Tiger Palm causes your next blackout kick to strike an additional time, stacking up to 3 times. So 1 blackout kick can restore 1.5% mana, essentially. Yeah? 1 blackout kick. If we just stack our Tiger Palms really heavily, and we're in melee, and we're doing our Tiger Palm jazz, right? And we're stacking this up. Oh, we got 3 stacks. Boom! That blackout kick is going to give me a shit ton of mana back, and I can keep spamming this. Not only that, I'm doing damage while I do it. I can mix it in with Rising Sun kicks. I can do my blackout kicks. I can reset things. Yeah? You see the way I reset my Rising Sun kick there? Wonderful stuff. So if we're in a dungeon where we don't even need to do much healing, or there are plenty of opportunity, a dungeon or a raid scenario where there's plenty of opportunity for us to be doing damage, this allows us to regen a lot of mana from doing that. Obviously, we want to be stacking up that monastery teachings 3 times, getting the most out of this talent. Crispy goodness, man, crispy goodness. But again, all 3 choices have their uses. At level 60, pick whatever you want. I can't imagine not taking leg sweep, honestly. A lot of people made some cases for Ring of Peace. That's totally fine. If you find opportunities for Ring of Peace, that's great for you. For me, it's leg sweep, and I can't say I've swapped out of this, honestly. I really can't say I've swapped out of leg sweep in nearly any scenario, actually, the more than think about it. Level 75, most of the time you're going to take healing elixirs because it's automatic should you suddenly get hammered in the face. Diffuse magic is my kind of go-to, honestly. Reduces magic damage taken by 60%. For a raid scenario, that's kind of where the problems lie, right? I would rather have reducing magic damage taken, especially as a ranged character. You're not getting meleeed that often, but you are getting hit by spells of God knows whatever hell. Or you can have Dampen Harm, which is all damage taken by 20%. So you've got Diffuse, which is magical damage by 60%, right? Or you've got Dampen Harm, which is 20%, but it's all damage. Yeah, 20% to 50%, depending on how hard you get hit. I find the shorter cooldown Diffuse Magic to be the go-to. Some people will go with healing elixirs. Entirely up to you what you go with here, depending, again, on the scenario. A level 90, so summon Jade Serpent statue. I kind of want to get this out of the way first of all. I wish they'd just bring this back as a passive. I used to really enjoy putting my statue down, and I actually think it looks really cool, and it's sad that it's actually just not worth. So what does it do? You drop a statue at the target location, and when channeling Soothing Mist, the statue will also channel Soothing Mist on your target for 50% as much value. So Soothing Mist is that passive that we get when we heal somebody. Yeah, this thing. If we put the statue down, then it'll just automatically swap the keybind. It would be nice if it did that. No, it doesn't. Okay. Right, there's our statue. There's our statue there. So when we're Soothing Mist, you can see it's channeling into him as well. The problem is, as I said at the very beginning of the video, I fucking hate channeling Soothing Mist. I really detest it. If I've got in this position where I'm like, oh, I could just like fucking check my phone, see what's going on. Cool. Is it still healing? Yeah, alright. You know those healers that you get in dungeons who just don't do anything but heal, even if no one needs healing? I've got to be honest, when I'm playing my Mistweaver, I'm hyper-aggressive. It's like, you're full health. Cool, let's fucking kick some ass, man, and do some fucking damage at the same time. Ergo, Jade Serpent doesn't get much use. And a lot of other players, especially as they get better with the Mistweaver, will be in the same boat. They've either got more important things to be casting, or they could be doing damage rather than just sitting here AFKing all the time, just doing Soothing Mist. Nothing wrong with Soothing Mist in particular. It's just generally better things you could be doing with your time, making Summon Jade Serpent statue just not that effective. I think most Mistweavers actually be super pissed if Summon Jade Serpent statue was like super amazing to the point where this was like a worthwhile playstyle, because you're literally doing nothing, right? Invoke Shiji. I love Invoke Shiji. Shiji lasts for goddamn ever, man. It lasts forever. It really does. So it summons an FG of Shiji, the Red Crane, for 45 seconds. Shiji heals nearby allies with Crane Heal for 80,000. It's a 3-minute cooldown, but this has pulled me out of the shit sometimes when people have been taking constant damage or bursty damage. I've just fired this some bitch off. Let me put him on my bars. This is where I have my bars, by the way. And off he goes. Oh, he's not going to go find anybody, is he? But there he goes. He just runs around like fuck and just heals people for ages. Right? Whoa, there he goes. Hey-oh. There he is. He's healing the bartender. Oh, he's back. Look at this guy. He's a fucking maniac. Oh, I love him. I absolutely love it in a raid when he's bouncing around like that. And he's going to do that for 45 seconds. He's just running around, healing people 40,000, 80,000. It's not a huge amount of healing, but it lasts so long that he puts out a ton of healing. So depending on the scenario, Shiji was something you definitely want to pick up if Rushing Jade Wind doesn't fit, or Refreshing Jade Wind doesn't tickle your fancy. So what's Refreshing Jade Wind? It's a 7-second cooldown, instant, not that expensive at 40,000 mana, and it summons a whirling tornado around you. It's the same as Rushing Jade Wind, which you've seen a million times, causing 252,000 healing over 7 seconds, up to 6 allies within 10 yards. So if you are like in the melee, which a lot of Mistweavers like to be, because you can obviously jump into this, and there's people taking constant damage, so your healing is like all the time, then Refreshing Jade Wind is the tits, right? It's the absolute fucking tits. There's obviously 6 people who regularly need healing up, then Refreshing Jade Wind is the absolute balls to the wall. You don't even have to be in melee. You could be in the rage camp. But if you do take Refreshing Jade Wind, be sure to keep that motherfucker rolling and doing its goddamn job, right? Because it is half as expensive as an Essence Font, and it'll just stay up, just ticking away while you do other things. So, well worth picking up. Okay, level 100, again, all talents are viable, depending on the scenario. Gotta love the way the healers work in the old World of Warcraft, man. It's fucking fantastic. So, what do we have here? We have Mana Tea. Reduces the mana cost of your spells by 50% for 10 seconds. It's only on a 1.5 minute cooldown. That's pretty cheap, especially if we have to start spamming our goddamn Essence Font. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, because that is expensive. So what we could do is get the Essence Font going. We can get Mana Tea going with that son of a bitch. Really cool. And we can get multiple big bursty healing out and not have it be expensive. Have it actually be quite cheap on us, putting out big chunky healing. You can also have Focus Thunder. Thunder Focus Tea now empowers your next 2 spells, right? So you noticed earlier when I powered off my Thunder Focus Tea. I also want to point out that the artifact ability, I believe it is this one, yes. Celestial Breath. Activating Thunder Focus Tea, which is that very important spell I talked about earlier. It causes your exhale the breath of Yulon. You might remember him from the old Mists of Pandaria. Healing up to 6 allies for 12 yards for 160,000 heal over 3 seconds. So it's not a great deal of healing, but every time we fire off the Focus Tea, you can see I breathe on everybody. Again, positioning so important to the Mistweaver. I absolutely fucking adore it, man. It's so good. So Focus Thunder, Thunder Focus Tea now empowers your next 2 spells. So you can get more Renewing Mists out. You could do 2 instant cast Enveloping Mists if you wanted to do 2 big powerful Effuses, 2 free Vivifies. Really cool. Rising Thunder, though, Rising Sun Kick resets the remaining cooldown of Thunder Focus Tea. So if you're going with a more, like, DPS-centric build, you get some really cool shit going if you rock with a Rolling Thunder. And again, it'll come down to what's going to be best for you. Are you going to be doing a lot of damage? Then maybe Rolling Thunder's going to kick ass. Are you going to be doing some mega bursty healing? Mana Tea is probably going to be better for you. Is it just constant all the time? Focus Thunder is probably going to be better to get a lot more cheaper, more powerful Vivifies out, right? That's how that's going to work out for you. So that, my friends, is how you decide what you want to play with your Mistweaver. So let's look at the gameplay itself. So gameplay-wise, I've explained all the intricacies that come with the Mistweaver, right? You want to be involved. I personally would recommend that you learn to be involved with everything, which means that you want to be getting involved with the melee and you're utilizing those skills wherever possible. You also want to get into the natural habits that apply all the time, such as keeping Renewing Mists on cooldown and your Thunder Focus Tea. It should be pretty obvious to you by now that a player who is utilizing his Thunder Focus Tea to its maximum and making good use of what it does is going to outplay another Mistweaver who's being a bit more cautious or not really considering the power of it. So certainly if someone's just a Renewing Mist caster of Thunder Focus Tea, right? But you're using it in the right way and knowing about all the little things it can do and adding all those together, you're going to be in a really good state, as well as also knowing that you can use your Shylon's Gift, this big artifact ability for single target and to AoE people. You can see the way it pulses there when we cast it. All these little intricacies are what make good Mistweavers and why you see some discrepancies sometimes in raid guilds who like abandoned Mistweavers. I have heard, and some people will scoff at this, that people believe the Mistweaver is far too hard in comparison to the healers. Now, I'm not going to say yes or no to that. What I will say is it requires a little bit more understanding at a base level. It's not like I need to spend 40 minutes explaining Flash Heal. But the way Vivify works and all the different ties and synergies it has together, I do need that time to explain that. Whereas, I think that's what makes this spec great fun. I think all this is what makes it great fun. And certainly somebody who is traditionally a melee player, and that makes it great. So look out for a gameplay video where we'll be talking more about the choices and stuff, but get into the habits basic, understand how all these spells work, aiming this, carefully positioning yourself because you want to make use of like the breath of the healing, keeping this on cooldown, making good use of things like Thunder Focus Tea, and trying to just use the right tool for the right job. Consider what situation you're heading into as to what's going to be the best for you, and get used to the idea that you can change your gameplay and should be changing your gameplay pretty regularly, and how easy it is to change your gameplay because you understand what your talents do and how that affects the healing you're going to do. In conclusion to the Mistweaver then, you can no doubt tell if you've made it this far that this is a spec that requires some more thought than you probably imagined in the first place, and hopefully I've done it enough justice for people to be happy with getting started with this, and maybe even just being a little curious about trying it out, because I recommend it to anybody. It doesn't matter how powerful it is in the top 2% of the world, this thing will get the job done in most scenarios you're going to be facing. So please check this one out. I feel like such a monk enthusiast. Like, please check it out, because it's really good, and a lot of people don't like it because it's a little bit different, which I think is a real shame, because Blizzard kind of turned their back on this style of new class. Certainly the Demon Hunter is evidence of that, so I hope they return to it and aren't too off put by the monk, but maybe the damage is done, who knows. Things I would recommend then, again, I'm going to recommend PeakofSerenity.com. Wonderful website, really nice, simple stuff there. I honestly picked up a ton of little things that I wasn't aware of from reading Peak of Serenity, as well as talking to my Mistweaver buddies about what they thought in raids and the different scenarios. Interestingly enough, I spoke to 3 different Mistweavers. All 3 of them gave me different recommended builds. That kind of says it all about what you prefer, how you like to play, how your healing's done. So that's something I want you guys to take away from this. Add-ons I recommend are certainly something like Weak Auras to track everything, or Tell Me When if you prefer, just to make sure you're keeping good cooldowns to also build the muscle memory for the habits that come with the Mistweaver that make it really work. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.